Ignition liftoff. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
This week we're bringing you something new that we're calling Lift Off With. Now, in honour of National Small Business Week, I'm bringing you some of the best kept secrets who are perhaps earlier on in their journeys or really on their way to lift off. We're bringing you a new episode every single day to shine a spotlight on these incredible women that you might not have yet heard of. Right, so let's lift off with. Today I'm joined by Nilam Holmes, the ultimate skin and beauty expert, the queen of flawless faces and pioneering treatments. Nilam has turned her passion for helping people feel confident in their skin into a powerhouse career, working with some of the world's biggest stars, launching breakthrough treatments, innovations and building a brand rooted in trust, transformation and real results. So let's find out why she's truly a lady who launched. Right, before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you're going to, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to share it to your group chat. I'm so excited that we're doing this. I love it when I get to talk to people that I know because I've known you. How long have I known you for now?
God, probably, I think I just got married, so it's got to be over 15 years.
Yeah.
16, 17
yes,
years?
Yes.
Time.
Oh my word! Yeah, because I've been with Marvin 16 years almost, and I think that's right. I think
you were already with Marvin,
was
so it
I?
must be it must be 17 years.
I mean, well, so there we go.
Yeah.
That's also a scary point in life when you can say that you've known someone like in
know.
double digits.
I mean, literally,
if hearing my parents talk like that and be like, "You're so old."
I know, anything to make you feel old is that, definitely.
But what I love is actually talking about you and your career, and you've achieved so much, but from a real behind the scenes level. Like, you're a face that people don't know, but they would be so aware of you and probably have the treatment that you founded every couple of weeks and not know the person that created it, which I think is so interesting.
Yeah, I think I always say to people, I'm not like the star, but we work on the stars. We are the people that create things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Makes all the magic happen,
Absolutely that. So let's sort of start, for anyone that doesn't know you. Since for as long as I can remember, you have been dubbed the Queen of Brows. You've worked with like some of the biggest names across the world. And we'll get on to, you obviously founded HD Brows. That's your method, that's your technique. We'll get on to all of that in a minute. But how did your journey into beauty first begin?
Oh my gosh, I fell into the industry. I actually never even planned to go into the beauty business. I was at university, and you don't really have any money.
Yeah.
I'd had a scholarship to go to Buckingham University to do a degree in business and an international hotel management degree. It's like a new program. So needed money to buy my books and whatever I need, getting in and out of uni. So I took a part-time job at a beauty salon, just doing reception. It was like a really old-fashioned salon. It had like toning tables, a sunbed, which I would never, condone
That
now.
you advise everyone against.
I know. And then we used to do things like body wraps. So I just worked there every night and every Saturday, all week. And then it got to a point where I was about to graduate, and my boss at the time, she went, "Oh, Nilam, I'm going to retire. I don't really want this salon anymore." She was a bit older. She said, "I've met somebody. I'm moving countries." So I was like, "Oh, no problem. I'm going to graduate soon." And then she went, "You can have the salon if you want it."
Stop.
Yeah, so that's how I actually got my first salon. She gave me the salon. I bought it for £1. And then my sister was at beauty college. So she was like, "You do the business stuff and I'll do all the beauty." So we thought, I was 20, she was 17. We thought we were great business women. And I remember the first day we opened, we took £4 and then we had a bill of about £260. It was a lawyer's sort of thing for the lease. We went, "God, it's not going to be as easy as we thought, is it?" So
This might take a bit of work.
But that's literally how I got into it. And then as I was in the business, my sister was doing most of the treatments.
Right.
We changed it round a bit, put in a lot of beauty stuff, but she was doing all the work and I was literally turning on toning tables and answering the phone. So I thought, well, let me start doing stuff. So I was always into brows, waxing, that kind of thing. Started doing those treatments. And then I had a client come in, a regular. She said, I found this machine. I really want it done. We looked into it. It was about $6,000 at the time. It was a facelifting type machine. And I was like, we can't really afford to get that at this stage. And she said, well, what I'll do is I'll buy it and you can pay me back in treatments.
Stop.
So I know. So I
Oh
had
my
like lots of
gosh.
women helping me,
That's incredible.
get to it, which was really, I've never forget that either,
Yeah.
And that's happened twice, with one with the facial machine and another time with the semi-permanent makeup stuff.
Right.
So that was another lady.
So they trusted you. They wanted it at your salon, but it was
Yeah.
wasn't something that you could or did provide. So they helped you with it so you could perform the treatment. That's it. That is amazing.
I know. So they bought the machine, and then that was one of the first treatments I learned. It was the Casey. And that was about 33 years ago. I was one of the first to get it here. So I did that day in, day out, working with skin, then ended up sort of specialising in that, got a passion for that. We were always known for brows, my sister and I. Had a big client base come into us for that. And then... the skin thing. I had bad skin actually at the time. I had like acne
Right.
and all of this. Met a doctor. He helped me with my skin. So then I kind of took those techniques. He took me under his wing as my mentor. And I just sort of passed those things down to my clients. And that's how I kind of got into the skin.
I mean, when we're ever anywhere together and like our friends or, are sort of in sort of one circle and we bump into you or we're hanging or we have lunch, I feel sorry for you because you're always that person that people go, Nee, just look at me a minute. What do you think I need to do? Do you think I need to do this? Do you think I should try this? You are so... But then equally, on the other hand, I can see when you're talking to me that you're redoing my face in your mind and my brows.
You look perfect. Perfect.
It's one of those things that is it's so interesting to me. And I never knew that you kind of stumbled across this sort of via your sister having a passion, but also being given this opportunity because you're so knowledgeable. You are the go-to person. Like, even if anyone's like, I want to try this thing or I've heard about this, I'm always like, let me just message Nee for you and see if it's any good or see if it's scary. You're so in tune with like trend-led stuff, the latest machine, but also really sort of knowing what's a fad and what isn't.
Do you know what I think it is? I think because I didn't come up traditionally, studied the whole route, I've had to study all the way along, you know. My mentor was a doctor who's really strict. He would always be like, that's not good enough. No, that's wrong. This is right, you know. And I feel like I've had to work so much harder to prove that, I can do it. I don't know. And it sounds really stupid, doesn't it? Because I do it day in, day out, but I still feel like I have that sort of...
Still now?
Yeah, still now.
Really?
Yeah, because I do everyone's faces,
I promise you, there's not anybody that you, and this is like globally, like that Nilam hasn't really touched. Like your black book is beyond, and the kind of network that you have is beyond. I want to sort of rewind because I know that your love for skin care and brows and everything, that's where that was born. But I want to talk about founding your own business and how that looks, because having a salon and obviously sort of, I suppose, inheriting that, which, and then obviously then you take that on and let that fly. But then launching what was then a service and product-based business, HD Brows. Now, I know that what is so interesting is we use the term HD Brows like just like a kind of...
Hoover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Like, you wouldn't say, I'm going to get my eyebrows waxed, I'm going to get my eyebrows threaded, just I need to go and get my eyebrows HD'd. Like, which is so interesting. It become such a... And it is such a trusted part of people's beauty regime. And the HD Brows is essentially a method, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 7-step.
Yeah, it was like a 7-step method with products that kind of supported each step.
Yes.
for the professional, and then for the consumer at home, if they were on a journey to maybe regrow their brows, they would have products that would help that all along the way. So that kind of came around. Like, I never sat down and thought, I'm going to make this brand. What happened, I used to teach permanent makeup, tattooing, and I had a lot of clients come in. I'd see 20-odd-year-old girls with no eyebrows, over-plucked brows.
Oh, gosh, yeah, we all did that at one point.
At college, you're never really taught how to shape brows. You're only taught how to remove hair.
Yeah.
So, and it's always that old-fashioned kind of here, and
a little bit like a tadpole. That kind of like, yeah.
And it was 2009 that time, and people would come in with little tadpoles or the little semicircle brows. And then, you know, I'd be teaching my students the tattooing. They'd draw on some brows, and I'd go, look, would you want that on your face? Is that the kind of shape you would want? Because that's going to be permanent. And the students would go, well, I don't really know what shape to put on. I don't really know brows, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, we need to teach brow shaping. So that came around just for those students.
Right.
Then I had other beauticians saying, well, I don't tattoo, but can I do your course? So it was me and my business partner at the time. She had the Tattoo Academy, and I was a teacher for it.
You were the brow queen.
So we started off this brand, and then it became like really popular. Everyone wanted to do the course. So they'd come on the course and they would go, well, what do I use to wax? And I go, well, you just go to the wholesaler and get your wax. And in the end I thought, well, let's make our own wax. That is because I would blend lots of waxes to make the right formula. Thought, right, now I'm going to get into making products. So we'd make the things to, you know, the wax, the potions and lotions you needed to soothe the skin, prep the skin. So that all became a thing. And then if a client had to grow their brows, we would say, well, use this to make them grow. You can get it in Boots. Use this to fill them in so you can fake it till you make it, kind of thing. The pencils, get them in Debenhams, you know.
Yeah.
We would sort of send people elsewhere. So I thought, well, why don't we make our own stuff?
And the customer, yeah.
So it was very organic. And I can honestly say I never sat down and made a plan of this is going to be the product. I didn't even know the term NPD till about 5 years in.
Yeah.
We were just doing it and rushing and formulating, but not having
like
a
sort of
plan
being
with it.
reactive to what was needed or what you were using or what people were asking.
Yeah, literally, people would ask for it, we would make it. It was never a big plan, but eventually we kind of were growing and growing really quickly. We had academies, Scotland, Ireland, like 2 in the south of England. We opened one in Russia, India. So it was getting to be worldwide. So then we decided to actually structure properly. And it did change the business, you know. But I'm very proud of how far it went.
Oh my gosh, like for something that is so now is such a given. Like you could go for a blow dry, you can go for to get your eyebrows HD'd, you could, like that technique.
I know.
Is so, like, it's so something to be proud of. Like, that was you. Like, you're the first person that taught me that actually your eyebrows frame your face.
Do you remember when I met you?
Yeah.
And you had the little eyebrows. And I was like, no, come on, we need the big brows.
And now because of you, I basically rarely get them done because I've like taught myself just to leave the hair. I felt like you had to overdo them.
Yeah, 100%. Like years ago, it was just, people just attacked them too much. But what I found after we'd launched, it went a bit crazy where people misunderstood the term HD brows and they ended up with these massive, thick eyebrows. It went a bit wrong. And remember, we were teaching a service. So how do you teach 100-odd people a week how to do brows perfectly? So that's why the 7-step, it was a set method. It was a set formula, like a set map that you put on the brow to get the best shape.
Right.
Taking into account like what the client wanted.
Yes.
But then that was really hard to teach.
Well, also, I think, how do you police that? And if somebody's using your brand name and saying that's a service they do, but then it's not how you would do it, it's quite hard to keep up and police that constantly, isn't it?
We did, in the end, when we could afford to, we had like literally a brand protection officer.
Right.
And we used to send out about 60 infringement letters a week.
Really?
Yeah, with people who would say, well, I do HD brows. It's just this, it's just that. You know, it's just a wax, it's just a so-and-so. And technically it was, but people didn't get that it was a brand
They
because it was
can't
the
use,
first
yes,
brand.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Which is it's actually quite an interesting point, because if somebody was straight up selling, I don't know, this, and this is what HD brows is, that is an easier thing to police. But for somebody to say,
Yeah.
I do this is a service. I suppose it's like if you are a nail tech and that's trained, and you do and you work with a certain product, but you haven't actually been trained in that product. It's quite a hard thing to control, isn't it?
It was so hard at the time, and then people would have a lot of complaints. You know, somebody was expecting this work when, remember, the person creating it is an artist. Everyone has a different vision, don't they?
Of what beauty
so
is.
someone was expecting that from the poster, and they were
Yes.
getting something different, and that was hard in itself. So, but it's all about the education, the training. At the time, I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Yes.
And
yes.
I was forever training my trainers, and I had a team of about 60 of them. But it was so good. Everyone was so passionate at the time to do a good job and pass that knowledge down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, is if you're going to teach somebody, you have to expect that they're going to be better than you, because that's what you want. And a lot of people don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But that's the strength of the brand, isn't it?
Of course, of course. Because I know now that you've parted ways with your then business partner. How did that then look like? Because obviously you're part of something that is sort of taking over, as it were, and there's a lot of strings to your bow, as in, like, I know how much you love being hands-on with skin and treatment, and I suppose constantly policing a brand when you are so service-based naturally, and being in front of people and giving those treatments and seeing those kind of results is something that you enjoy. I suppose it can be really distracting when something quite noisy is happening at the same time, because you sort of got to pick which lane that you take.
Yeah. I was just trying to juggle everything at the time. I had my salon, I had the HD Brows business. We had 11,000 salons trained at that point. That was a lot of things to manage. I had 150 staff in the company, and I was literally on the phone to everybody all the time. My business partner had her own businesses as well, but I was the face of the brand.
You were front-facing.
What I would say is I was in the brand too much to be on the brand.
Right.
So there were a lot of mistakes being made, which I've learned a lot from now. I was trying to manage everything. I was doing all the... Back then, we didn't have the social media like we have now. So I was trying to get as many celebrities wearing HD brows.
Yeah.
So I was running out doing that. But while I was going out doing that, the celebrity would be like, oh, can I get my face done, my facial? So I was spending so much time doing that PR side of it.
Yeah.
And we would get really good, never had a PR agency, but we'd get really good press coverage and everything, which everyone benefited from. But I was really struggling to juggle both.
Well, the overwork, like, that's where you've got to be so careful when it comes to, like, burnout and working yourself into a frenzy.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's such a big part of you, and what you've created is something so strong. But actually...
Yeah, it was there was a lot of sacrifices.
There's a sacrifice, yeah.
You know, you'll remember Pete and I were trying to have a baby. And I remember having IVF, doing an egg transfer, and then the doctor's like, you must go and rest now. And then there was a problem in my head office, which was in Leeds, and I'm in London. And I'm like, okay. And I'm at home and I'm like, I just need to go to Leeds. And I remember doing that. And obviously our IVF journey wasn't successful, which we're fine with now. But I do look back and think, do you know, what was I thinking?
Because I think a lot of people do, and I think I've spoke about this on this podcast a lot. You know, there is always some sort of, it's like the trade-offs. Like there's certain, think about the sort of and we're better at this now, but think about the parties or the birthdays or the lunches or the moments with friends and family that you miss because I've just got to do, when actually, when it's all said and done, you look back, like, if I didn't make that thing, it would have been all right.
Yeah.
But actually, sometimes life gets lost when you're so tunnel vision with your career. But I think it's easy to look back and say that, but when I am so passionate about my career too, so it doesn't at the time seem like such a chore because it's natural. It was natural for you to get in that car and go to Leeds because that's what you had to deal with.
And it was my baby.
Yeah.
And I love my job. I still love my job, and I want everyone to do well, and I want my clients to look amazing and feel amazing. And, you know, who doesn't love that praise of, oh, I felt great after you saw me, or, you know.
And those results are so rewarding. Like, everything's confidential, but I know people that you've worked on, and I've even just seeing, like, from afar, knowing what they look like before and then seeing them now and thinking, oh my gosh.
I know. I have all these. It's funny because I get
like testimonials almost.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
If only I could say. If only I could say. You know, people send me videos and they go, "Oh, have you seen this person's had a facelift?" And I'm like, "Oh, really?" You know, and I know they haven't.
Yes.
You know, but
because your hands have been on them.
You know, but yeah, it's just really nice to have that. But you know, I don't have HD brows anymore. Because you know what happened? It grew very, very fast.
Yeah.
It was like this monster, this
It was
beast.
rapid.
And we just couldn't feed it enough all the time. And, you know, we were growing and growing. Like I say, I was in the business rather than on the business. A lot of costly mistakes. We weren't seeing certain things that were happening in the company. And, you know, things do happen, that negative things can happen in the business. And we ended up in this sort of financial situation where even though we were taking a lot of money, we were making a lot of money, there was some big accounting mistakes, we call them accounting mistakes happening. And it kind of really shook the company. And it got to this point where we had to find a lot of money very quickly to kind of save the business. And we couldn't understand why this was happening. We're like, well, there's money there.
We're making a lot of money.
There's customers, we're making money. But it was just this particular situation, which I still can't even talk about legally, you know, but we had to make a lot of money quickly to save the company. And what was lovely, all my team was so passionate. But it got to a point where we had to make a decision where we needed an investor.
Right.
And my business partner had one vision for the brand, which was more to stick to the professional side of things, teaching people, doing all of that. And I was getting calls from Selfridges and retailers and everything wanting to take...
Like more product based.
Yeah. And I felt like we had a lot of faces by that time to help us. So, you know, it just got to this point. I wanted to go down that consumer route.
Yeah.
She wanted to go down the professional route, and we decided to part ways.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like, that is like the grown-up thing to do when you know you're like into, and it's really hard when two people have come together and it was like her professional side, but that was your method and what, you know, however you want to put it, but two people have come together, but then with the same vision, but then you have different, you know, it's not about who wins, it's about sort of being respectful and knowing that you're on a different path now, and that's all right.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time. When I left, I just felt like something had been ripped away. Because
it's an extension of you. And that was like, when I think HD brows, I will always think you. But it is almost like, and it's so interesting, when I sat down with Jo Malone, she was saying the day that she walked away from Jo Malone London, she didn't know who she was anymore. And it was almost like grieving that old person. Then, you know, a few years later, when she could do something, because obviously you have that kind of non-compete agreement, Jo Loves was then born. And she's sort of found herself all over again, but walking away from something that is you. She was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was, what I did without that.
Well, I was, I mean, it's arrogant now, I think of it, but I was like, well, how would it work without me?
Yeah.
It wouldn't work without me. It's me. It is me. It's my baby. Only I could run it. And so when I left, I remember I went to LA. A friend of mine was working in America doing like the Kardashians and everybody. And he was like, come over here, come and do some of my clients. And I kind of went to LA to lick my wounds because I'd left the brand. I'd put out a statement for it. And I remember being at the airport this day and I went to buy some lipstick because I was going to do somebody's makeup out there. And this girl went, I'm not being funny, but aren't you about to launch all your own? And I was like, I didn't know what to say. I was almost too embarrassed to admit that I wasn't at the brand anymore.
Right.
And I was like, I made a bit of an excuse. But it took me a long time to be able to speak about it, positively.
Yeah, and sort of kind of acknowledge how successful that was and what a big thing that was that you built that you're no longer now not a part of, rather than feeling like you should be in some kind of weird way.
Yeah,
even
and I was
though
worried.
that's what you've decided.
Yeah, and I actually thought at some point I'm going to get it back. I'm going to get this brand back.
Really?
I thought that for a couple of years. I had a non-compete, and I'd had a lot of new product development ready. So I was like, no, I'll get this brand back at some point. And I had all these plans. And eventually I started a different brand. So I took all these products, all the ideas, made a new brand. I think it was just something I had to get out of my system.
Like, this kind of unfinished business.
Yeah. But I was very sad at walking away. I was annoyed with myself at walking away. The biggest mistake I made was I kept putting everything back into the business, and instead of kind of taking some financial gain away from it and building a nest egg, so I had a rainy day, I kept just ploughing everything back in.
Right.
So when I did leave, I didn't have anything. I just started again. So that was 7-8 years ago, and I had to start from scratch again. I'd put my clinic into the business because we were going to be doing franchises of the HD stores.
Right.
So it was going to be the model. So I got that back out and kind of started from scratch again. And I thought, what's the thing that's going to make me the most money the quickest?
Right.
And it was my services. And I had a non-compete with the brows. So I thought, right, let me get back into that. And probably the best thing that happened to me now is losing that brand, because I did go to LA. I had more time to nurture all those clients that I was just fleeting in and out of all the time, and built my little black book, really.
And now you kind of, as we say, treat anybody who's anybody and and has a waiting list as long as your arm. Do you think, like, there are so many learnings in what you have said in that story, and I think that you sometimes focus on like the glitz and the like this big brand, but actually, like you say, in hindsight now, going back to everything you love, doing it at the best of your ability because you have the time to focus on it, walking away was actually the best thing that you could have done, but at the time you can't see that. And it's so, I bet you wish that you had
Hindsight
at the time, because at the time it is everything. It's sort of soul destroying when something isn't working out in the way that you want it to.
Oh, can you imagine if you've got your brand and you've got this vision for it, or it's like a house, isn't it? And then somebody else moves into it, and then they change the wallpaper and they change the furniture, and then you're like,
and you hate it.
why are they doing that? I don't like that. That's not the brand. And it was really hard to watch it all. But then I started another brand, and it was great to start with, but I launched during COVID, like during the lockdown, which, but it was doing okay. I don't have much time to spend on it.
Yes.
And I'm making the decision now to kind of walk away from it, because I have learned now that it's better to kind of identify when something isn't working. So rather than keep ploughing into it all the time, I know that I can't commit to that brand enough.
Yeah. And do you know what, we spoke about this, and we hosted lunch not long ago, and I was talking to Sarah Ashcroft, who had a clothing brand, and she's now liquidated it. And but lots of different. And I think we're so in a place now where people talk about what doesn't work out as loudly as what does. And I think it's so important to just always be honest with that. But also, and we were having this big, it was so lovely, we were having this big open conversation. And there were a few people there. Vanessa King-Ori was one, and Emma Greed was the other. And we were in this conversation, the three of us were talking to Sarah, and we were saying, actually, what's so important in life, and men are a lot better at this, that actually we say to ourselves, this thing didn't work out. Not me. It wasn't like I messed this up and I didn't make this happen. I'm great and I do X, Y, and Z really well. But actually this thing here, this business hasn't quite worked. And I'm okay with that. If a man was going to, and it's so important that we do that more, because we were saying, like, when men talk about it, they say, oh no, I tried this thing and it wasn't, you know, I moved on, I'm on to the next thing. But there's something with women that when we speak, we really see that as a reflection on us.
Like shame.
Like a shame and a reflection on us not doing it in a way that we should have done. And that's the reason it hasn't worked out, rather than, oh no, that's just a thing that's parked and it didn't happen.
That was a big thing for me. And, you know, because I felt embarrassed about everything. I felt like a failure. I would see everybody around me who looks like they're doing so well. Even when you said, come and join you on your podcast today, I was like, oh my God, I'm not a successful businesswoman. I don't know. It depends how you measure it, doesn't it? And I was like, well, what's anyone going to hear that, I don't know if I've got much positive, you know.
That is, first of all, that is not true in the slightest. You've built some incredible businesses and you continue to do so. Like, anybody that wants to work in the industry that you're in, I see everyone the way they want to pick your brains, and people aspire to have a career like you have, but sometimes it's so hard to see that when you're in it and you're not sort of sat back.
Yeah, I don't see it myself. I literally sometimes go, oh my God, I think sometimes I've got too many plates spinning. So you never feel like you're winning at anything. You're just, I feel like I'm surviving all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and when I speak to people and they'll say, oh, what are you doing with your brand? And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to close it. And people are like, don't do that. You're not a quitter. And then you get that negative connotation to it. And you go,
people don't love change.
Yeah.
And they like to kind of, they're happy with a certain version of you and knowing what you do. But actually, you have to do what makes you feel good. And if you feel like you've given everything to something that now isn't serving you or itself in the best way, nobody knows better than you.
I think I've just learned a lot of things where now I wouldn't try and do it all by myself. Like, I've never had an investor.
Yeah.
So even with the HD, it was just my business partner and I, and we kind of fueled each other on enthusiasm, but we made the money, put it back in. But times are different now. And I just wish somebody had just said to me, just take the money, you know, because people
it's not negative.
No, people would offer it and I would almost see it like, oh, they're bailing me out, or I would never see it as
what does that mean? What do they want?
What do you want? Yeah. I was very nervous of people, even with this new brand. And because of what happened with the HD brows, I was like, oh no, I'm just going to do it by myself. I don't want a business partner.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you sort of have your fingers burnt and you want to do it differently.
Yeah, but really, if I'd have taken the investment, I would have made much better decisions and more calculated. I would have had a better
But it's all
team.
learnings.
Yeah.
And there's no, like, I sat down with Trini and, you know, she started Trini London later. I can't remember how old she was when she started.
53.
She started 53, that was it.
Which is what I am now. So I'm like,
correct.
oh.
So, but this is my point. There's no, and also she's 53. This is the best advert for your skin services ever, because please look at you. It's absolutely illegal. But that's exactly it. And she inspired me so much. We think we've got to have it sussed out at every little milestone. Yeah. She was 53. She sold her house. She sold loads of clothes in her house and everything she owned to raise money, and then got investment after trying for so long, and then did it. And now look at what she's built. And that's like, she's just like, I just think the world's our oyster. We just need to go a little bit easy on ourselves and know that everything is a lesson.
Yeah.
We do this thing, which I love. My my life coach Dior, who I'm obsessed with, did our first ever launch box, and we talk about designing our future self, and we're calling it Set the Table. If we were going to sit down a year from now, how would you want the future Nilam to look? What would you want to have done differently, and what would you want the kind of present to be at that point?
So if somebody said, right, you can start from scratch now, what I would do is I would take an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely take investment this time. I would sit and make a proper business plan, but with my own goals in mind as well. Because I think when you're happy and you're meeting your own goal, not just the businesses, I think the business is more successful.
Getting that personal.
Yeah, and I think it's the people I have around me as well. I would make sure I've got the right people, which I feel like I've got. Actually.
But what do you want the future you to look like? So that was if you were to do a brand again, but what if we sit down in a year's time, what do you want your reality to be? Do you want to be doing the same thing? Do you want to go after another brand? What do you think?
Oh, no, gosh, it's so hard. I just, you know what, it's almost like I don't ever sit and think. I feel like I've never got time to think. So if I had that luxury, I would say, or maybe I'll make it happen after this.
You absolutely will, girl.
I would say I would like to have a skincare brand because I've been working on formulas and things for a long time. It's just my passion.
Yes.
I would like to have a skincare brand. I would like to have a clinic, my own space in London, and perhaps I'm always getting asked to do pop-ups everywhere, like New York, LA, wherever, all over the world. I would like to have something where I could have maybe a small pop-up here and there. Okay. All ties in with the skin line, I think. I would like to be a bit more content. I'd like to feel less hectic.
Yeah.
Like more, I'd like to have more brain space.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I think that's
because you're so fast-paced, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so fast-paced all the time. I'm very reactive. I'm not very good at saying no. So I think my future self needs to learn that for sure.
Yeah.
Just be a bit more calm and collected.
It's so funny because you are actually such a calm person, but your life isn't.
No.
Like, you are so calm and so chill, but I think you're also, because of the nature of what you do, you're at the mercy of like, so-and-so's flown in and they love you and they need you, so you make it work. And it's hard for you to plan your own.
No, I'm doing that tonight because somebody's only here for a few hours and then they've got this big event and then, there's this movie on and that person needs me for that or there's this. So I always go, oh my God, but they need me, so I rush and leave everything, but I just need to it'd be nice for me to be a bit calmer to focus on that. So I'm going to add a life coach to my table. So when I first thought about that question, I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does set the table mean?
Well, you've just done it, girl. You've just done it. Skincare line, Calmness, life coach.
Yeah.
I've got a good life coach for you. And finally, I ask everybody this. I know that you run around like a headless chicken most of the time, but I like to know how people spend their lunch hour.
Oh, I don't get one. I don't get a lunch hour. Oh my gosh! I don't. Literally, I'm having. Sometimes my team will come in with a cup of tea and like some chocolate or something, and I'll literally drink it. So say the client's got a mask on, I'll just have to have a sip of it. Or I very rarely do that now. I can't remember the last time I sat and had lunch.
Oh my
at work.
Gosh!
It's so. It's just erratic and crazy and all of that. So.
Grab and go.
Grab and go.
What are we grabbing?
What are we grabbing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
If you had to be like, right, I can eat in the car on the way to your next client after this.
Oh, my favourite food at the minute, I'd probably say something spicy, but I like maybe like a spicy sushi.
Isn't it
like
bad that when you said
sushi.
spicy, the first thing I thought of was a spicy margarita?
Oh, God. Listen, there are days. There are days at work when I sit, and I'm not even really a drinker, am I? And I go, oh, I could murder a drink.
Murder a spicy margarita.
I know.
Maybe we should do that for lunch one day.
But that's worrying at 3:00 in the afternoon, isn't it?
Pray for us. Thank you so much, Nee. I've loved this. I've loved talking to you. You are brilliant. And I definitely think skincare line is what is happening in the future.
Watch this space.
If anyone needs to do a skincare line, it's you. Like, I am like, if it's Nilam, I send you all everything anyway. I'm like, is this good? Is that good?
I know.
It's
and
time.
I'm spending a lot of time. So I've been to Korea a few times. I'm spending a lot of time because I have the luxury of clients from all over the world.
Yes.
So everyone tells me their secrets and their potions, and I'm like, oh, can I just have that? Can I take that? And I'm looking into everything. So I don't spend any time not thinking about skin or
What's next?
because it's such a good thing to talk about, isn't it?
And it's you. That's your buzz. Well, we can't wait to see it. Thank you so much. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you don't miss out, because next time we're going to be joined by another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, then follow us on YouTube and please don't forget to like and subscribe.